Hello everyone. I thought schools were due to go back yesterday, so lots of children are at home at the moment, and I thought while they're still at home we'd have a little story perhaps once a week to, instead of coming into schools, I can come and give a story this way. So I was looking through all my things and I found this cockerel in my cupboard. It was a little cockerel that I bought in Neath Fair a couple of years ago. It's a fabulous little one. And I thought this is going to come in handy for something. I'm not quite sure what it's going to come in handy for, but the time has come. It's going to come in handy today. A couple of days ago, just before Easter, we heard just the mention of a cockerel in the story of Jesus during Holy Week. We heard the story of how one of his friends, one of his disciples, Peter, how he said that he didn't love Jesus any longer, that he didn't know Jesus. And Jesus said to him, "You're going to betray me." During that Last Supper, the time when he had with his friends up in the upper room. And Peter said, "No, never, never. I love you always. I'll always stay with you." And Jesus knew, of course, as Jesus knows all the things that are in our hearts and in our minds, Jesus knew that Peter would say that he didn't know Jesus. And he said, "Before the cockerel crows, Peter, you will deny me 3 times. I wonder how Peter must have felt. I wonder how, when he heard the cockerel crow and he realised that what Jesus had said was true, I wonder in his heart how he felt, especially afterwards. Well, in the story, of course, we know that Jesus went and was crucified. He was put on the cross and he died. And then he was put in a tomb by his friend Joseph Arabasir. And then 3 days later, something amazing happened. On Easter Day, Jesus broke out of the tomb. He conquered death and he was seen alive. So I think the story I'm going to tell you today is one of my favourite stories. It's about a breakfast on the beach. And to hear the story, I'm going to use the photographs, the pictures from this wonderful book that I've got here. Jesus and the breakfast on the beach. Well, Peter must have felt rather awful. I'm sure that for a long time Peter was thinking about how he had denied Jesus and how he had said something that wasn't true. He was afraid to stand up for what was true. He was afraid to stand up for the truth. And so I suppose I can imagine him, like this picture, wrapping his cloak around him, looking out onto the Lake of Galilee. Because once Jesus had said that he'd had a special job for Peter to do, but he didn't know now what that was about. He didn't know what that special job he was going to have was. His friends called him out onto the lake, and so he went. He was a fisherman, and so he went out onto the lake to fish, to try to catch fish to eat. And he was still preoccupied. He was probably thinking to himself, I wonder what my friends think. Do they really know that I denied Jesus? Do they know? Well, the night was long and they couldn't catch many fish at all. They couldn't catch hardly anything. They put their nets down and nothing at all was going into the net. And then, on the shore, they saw somebody on the shore, and one of them said, look, it could have been James. James said, look, there's somebody on the beach. And the sun was so bright. And they watched the man and they drew nearer to the shore, and they probably wondered who it was. I wonder who it is. And the man shouted to them from the shore. The man shouted, have you caught any fish? And they said, no, we haven't even caught one. And the man said something. He said, well, why don't you put your fish now, your net, to the other side of the boat? Why don't you just put the net on the other side? And they must have thought to one another, well, that's a bit odd. If the fish are on one side, they'd be on the other side. But they did as the man said. And as soon as it hit the water, it was full of shiny, wriggling fish that went everywhere. They couldn't believe it. Their nets were so very heavy, huge. And they were laughing and they were joking. And then one of them, John, realised, and he shouted, "It's Jesus. It's Jesus." And Peter looked at the man on the shore and he knew straight away that he had to be with him. And before he stopped, before anything, he just leapt out of the boat and waded across through all the water, waded across to be with Jesus. And Jesus said, "Gosh, you've worked hard tonight, everybody. Let's have some breakfast, shall we? Let's have some breakfast." He built a little fire and they put some fish on the fire and they had bread and they had a lovely time together. And then Jesus said to Peter, he said, "Peter, come with me now. Come for a little walk with me. I need you to walk with me. I need to tell you something very important." And Peter might have thought, in his heart, he might have thought, "Oh, is Jesus going to be sad with me? Is Jesus going to be cross with me because I denied him? I said that I didn't love him." He felt very, very sad. He almost felt as though he was letting Jesus down. And the only thing he wanted to hear was that Jesus loved him. And Jesus asks him, he said, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter said, "Well, of course I love you. You know that I love you. I love you with all my heart." "Well, look after my people then," asked Jesus. And then Jesus did the same thing. He did it twice more. "Peter, do you love me?" And twice more Peter tried to tell Jesus how he felt. Twice more Jesus said, "Peter, look after my people." And then it dawned on Peter. Jesus had asked him 3 times, "Peter, do you love me?" And he gave Peter the chance to say, "You know I love you." So for 3 times Peter remembered what Jesus had said. "Before the cockerel crows, 3 times you will deny me." And now he's giving Peter the chance to tell him, "Yes, I do love you, Lord." He knew that he was forgiven, and he knew that it was a new start. A new start is what we all can do with, isn't it? We all like to have a new start. We all like to know that we are forgiven when we do something that's wrong. And Peter knew that. Peter knew that Jesus trusted him. And Jesus said, "Go now and look after my people. Go and tell them the good news." So that little story, each time I hear that story, it reminds me that we can talk to Jesus about anything, that everything we say, as long as we are sorry, Jesus will forgive us. And so I thought that would be a nice little story to share with you, since I can't come into school. So that would be a lovely story to share with you. Jesus and the breakfast barbecue. And I'll see you soon. God bless.